We just got another one. One of the top safeties in the country is staying home in the 305. Amari Wallace, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And emergency episodes are the best during recruiting season. I am Alex Donno. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, writer for allhurricanes.com, and co-host of Locked On ACC. Thank you so much to the everydayers and the twice-a-dayers for making Locked On Canes your first and second listen, your first and second watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You know what else is free? If you're watching us live right now on YouTube, smash that like button and subscribe. Completely free to do that. And yes, Amari Wallace, four-star safety out of Miami Central, is now a Miami Hurricane. We'll talk about what this does for Miami's class of 2025, which is very much a work in progress. This one's a marathon, not a sprint. National Signing Day coming up in December. Long way to go, especially with some fellow South Floridians like Amari Wallace. We'll talk about the South Florida factor and the Miami Central pipeline. But yes, Miami gets the announcement. It just came down the pipe about 30 minutes ago. Four-star safety Amari Wallace has picked the University of Miami. He chose Miami, by the way, over Auburn, Louisville, and LSU. I've also seen Florida listed in the mix for him before, so some good contenders out there for Wallace, but ultimately the 5'11", 172-pound, four-star safety has chosen to stay at the crib. I mentioned this is a four-star recruit. He's ranked by 24/7 Sports as the 16th safety in America and the number 22 overall recruit in the state of Florida. So this is a really good player that Miami's keeping home. And some of the things that stand out about Amari Wallace, not only his range, how hard he hits for a fella his size, and he's only going to get bigger once he gets into a college weight room, but the versatility. And if you've noticed something about the types of defensive backs that Miami's been recruiting over the past couple of years, if you can find a guy who can play safety and or nickel and or cornerback, versatility is always at a premium for Miami. And this is a player, of course, Mario Cristobal really covets, and defensive backs coach Chevis Jackson and safeties coach / defensive coordinator Lance Guidry are big fans of Amari Wallace. He has decided to stay home. And by the way, for the folks who may have missed a couple of the other recruiting-centric episodes that we've done this week, I want to play for you guys real quick. This was the scouting report that our recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, gave us this morning on Amari Wallace.
He's a guy that was on the scene very early in his high school career. Miami and a bunch of other schools got involved with him. He's a free safety. I think he can play nickel. He has the speed to do so. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He didn't gain a lot of weight after he got into high school, but it's his ability to run. How big he gets will dictate where he ends up, but I think he could be a nickel or be a free safety.
And that's something, the speed is one of those things that jumps off the page when you watch Amari Wallace's highlight reel at Miami Central. The speed jumps off the page. Also, the instincts. Had 3 interceptions this past season as a junior at Central, including a pick 6 early on in the season. So he checks off a lot of these boxes, my friends. And Amari Wallace has announced tonight that he's a Miami Hurricane. And listen, another one, this is the 3rd consecutive night where Miami has landed a verbal commit. And some of the complainers out there, I refer to the complainers as the 3-star brigade, right? That are like, who's this Demetrius Campbell? Why should I even know who this guy? What is a Jaden Wilkerson? What is 3-stario Cristobal doing collecting all these 3 stars? I hope you're happy that tonight, and by the way, I'm not in any way meaning to disparage Demetrius Campbell and Jaden Wilkerson. Both of these guys, 6'6", 300-pound plus offensive linemen that Alex Mirabal and Mario Cristobal have identified as guys that they can absolutely develop. Not taking anything away from those guys, but I am saying for the 3-star brigade out there who love to complain about, another 3-star. Wake me up when they land a 4-star. Well, they landed a 4-star. Some of you will probably be saying, oh, well, wake me up when they land a 5-star. This was a nice get for Miami. This is from Amari Wallace's 24/7 sports scouting report. Andrew Ivins referred to him as an instinctive half-field safety prospect with tons of range that has made plays since he was a freshman for the powerhouse that is Miami Central. Has yet to test or measure anywhere, but multiple in-person evaluations suggest he's hovering right around 5'11". Will likely need to add some bulk before he's ready to go on Saturdays, but he already plays a bit fearless despite being on the lighter side. That is something I noticed about him. Quick to trigger, can cover a ton of ground as he uses sharp angles, and an adequate burst to get to where he needs to go. And the scouting report goes on and on, but that gives you an idea of what Miami is getting here with Amari Wallace. And hopefully, as this is the third consecutive night Miami lands a verbal commit, it was 3-star offensive lineman Demetrius Campbell on Tuesday, 3-star offensive lineman Jaden Wilkerson on Wednesday, 4-star safety, versatile enough to play nickel, as we've discussed, Amari Wallace lands on Thursday. You have to wonder, does Miami have something up their sleeve on Friday? And could this be the start of a run maybe on more South Florida players, maybe more Miami Central players? Because again, Miami Central is such an important pipeline to Miami and to Miami in this coaching staff, right? Because, in recent years, I think it was Wesley Basaint, I think it was right after Mario arrives. Mario had to secure Wesley Basaint's commitment out of Miami Central in 2022 and 2023. They land Ruben Hurricane Bain out of Central, who I think is going to go on to be one of the great Canes of this generation, maybe multiple generations. I think Ruben Bain is that good. And then Armando Blunt in this past cycle. I think Armando is going to be really good. That young man worked so hard. Just had his first semester at Miami, was working through an injury, but Armando Blunt is always in the indoor facility. He's always in the weight room. That young man is always working. I think he's going to be a great one. And now Amari Wallace becomes part of that next line in the Miami Central pipeline. Hopefully he can sweet talk our guy Randy Adarica, his teammate at Central, the defensive lineman. Say, Randy is pretty good here at the crib. Why don't you stay out here? Randy was another player that we talked about earlier on this episode. Some folks think he might be trending in other directions, potentially out of state at Arica, but hopefully home is where the heart is for him. But an interesting fact on the South Florida recruiting so far in this class. When we come back, we have a lot more to talk about, my friends. Amari Wallace, breaking news tonight. Amari Wallace has verbally committed to the Miami Hurricanes. We are only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. You guys want to keep it locked. And I'm only getting started with Gametime. We've been buying Stanley Cup playoff tickets. I know folks have been buying NBA. That's now over. Congratulations, I guess, to Boston. Well, hopefully our Florida Panthers can get it done in the Stanley Cup finals. And folks, Major League Baseball tickets all over the place. You will not believe the prices that you're getting. Gametime, which is the only ticket app I use, by the way. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Folks, the last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals are amazing. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. I remember, when they had Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals a couple nights ago, folks were complaining like, oh, I got to pay $1,000. I found tickets under $600 at Gametime that were not available on other sites. I'm telling you, you have to try out the Gametime app. You get panoramic views from your seat before you buy, and you get all-in pricing. They show you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you so much for making this breaking news episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube, and we are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Amari Wallace just had his official visit to Miami this past weekend. Safe to say the visit went incredibly well, and that was actually his first OV. So he's got more available. Obviously, you can only OV once to Miami, but he's got more OVs available in the fall if he chooses to use them. But this is what Amari Wallace said out of his official visit to Miami, handful of days before verbally committing. This is what he told 24/7 Sports. Quote, "The whole weekend went good for my first official visit," he said. "It felt good just getting chauffeured around, getting presidential vibes." He said, "It feels good. I feel like Miami just has to keep doing what they're doing with me, keep our relationship and always being there for me, always knowing that family is first." You see that word, and I love it, but you see that thrown around a lot when it comes to Miami recruiting, especially the guys who actually decide to take that plunge and commit to Miami. It always comes back to the family atmosphere. You know, the way that Miami treats the parents and the grandparents and the cousins. That was one of the reviews that we heard from DJ Pickett, 5-star, who's, still uncommitted. He's not going to commit till October 5th. I believe Miami to be, in my humble opinion, in the lead right now for DJ Pickett. But one of the things he said coming out of his OV to Miami was talking about that family. People tend to bring that up. We heard the story from Gerard Pringle, Miami's 4-star committed running back, about how, he wanted ice cream at 11 p.m., which off season, I guess. I don't know if I recommend 11 p.m. ice cream. He wanted an off season ice cream. And instead of, sending a guy to go retrieve him, Mario Cristobal walked with him to get ice cream. And that was like a nice touch on his official visit that Pringle really appreciated. So when you throw Amari Wallace on board, I actually had to do a double take when I saw someone mention this on social media. It might have been my guy Gio Milian. Somebody mentioned this on social. If I credited the wrong person, forgive me. But Amari Wallace becomes Miami's first verbal commit so far in this cycle from South Florida. Now, I don't say, oh my God, they're not recruiting South Florida kids anymore. This to me is an illustration of how South Florida kids, we talk about this all the time with Bryant Smith. A lot of the South Florida recruits will wait into the fall or maybe even wait until National Signing Day. But it is interesting that, mid-June, late June now, I guess you could say June 20th, that Amari Wallace so far, Miami's got 10 verbal commits. He's the only South Floridian in the class so far. So here's where Miami now stands in the composite recruiting ranking for the class of 2025. Miami ranks 31st in the country, which obviously you say 31st, that's not good enough. I agree. 31st is not good enough. Miami is going to try to, trend closer to that top 10, maybe even that top 5 again by the time National Signing Day rolls around. But so far, 10 verbal commits for Miami, 31st ranked class in the country. We'll talk about who ranks in the top 10 in just a moment. But in Miami's class right now, again, a lot of players from other parts of Florida or Midwest. Brock Schott, 4-star tight end, who we really like. He's Miami's top rated recruit right now, the 4-star tight end out of Leo, Indiana. The aforementioned Gerard Pringle, 4-star running back out of Armwood, Florida, which I think is in the Tampa area. Then you've got now Amari Wallace, 4-star safety out of Miami Central. He's Miami's 3rd highest rated commit, first South Floridian in the class. Then you've got 4-star tight end Luca Gilbert, 6'7" monster out of Lakota West High School, Westchester, Ohio. Then you've got linebacker Elijah Melendez, who, Miami's going to try to lock him down, right? Because he's been taking a lot of visits to other places, but he's going to be home at Miami this weekend. He's from Central Florida, Osceola High School in Kissimmee, Florida, near Disney World. Then you've got Birmingham, Alabama native Timothy Merritt, 3-star cornerback. So that's another defensive back Miami has in this class. This is someone that Chevis Jackson, Miami's coaching staff, really likes. Then you've got our guy, Luke Nickel, who is criminally underrated by 24/7 Sports. The other recruiting sites have him ranked as a 4-star, the quarterback out of Milton, Georgia. 24/7 has some axe to grind with this kid, apparently, that they will not, no matter how many dimes he throws at the Elite 11 finals, they refuse. 24/7 refuses to raise Luke Nickel's ranking. He's still a 3-star there, 4-star in all the other sites. And he just had a great showing at Elite 11, by the way. offensive tackle Demetrius Campbell, then a 3-star out of Orlando Christian Prep, interior offensive lineman TK Mew out of Neptune Beach, Florida, and then you've got Jaden Wilkerson, who just committed last night, 3-star offensive tackle out of Edgewater High School, which is a very good program there in Orlando. So, yeah, folks, I'm thrilled about this, and guys, I'm so excited for tomorrow's episode as well, because it's another Canes Connection Friday, and I'm not going to do the final promotion for who's coming on until tomorrow morning, but we're expecting a couple of big names on the team to join us tomorrow on our Canes Connection interviews. And, speaking of Canes Connection, I see some loser sideline reporter from Oklahoma. It's like the sideline reporter is like, talk about, if Miami played against the Kremlin, I would root for the Kremlin. I don't even know. Does the Kremlin have a football team? Like, I don't know. You commit treason and root for Russia if they were playing against Miami. He was making some allegation about, Miami is the biggest cheater in the NIL era. Well, it's not like, offering players money. It's not cheating anymore, Mr. Sideline Reporter. But this guy was complaining about Miami. And you know what? The reason why Miami's NIL situation is as great as it is right now is because of the great folks at Canes Connection. So we're going to talk to a couple of student athletes courtesy of Canes Connection tomorrow. And by the way, if you want to sign up for the Canes Connection Collective, we have a code for you. Let me see if I've got the banner that I can put on the screen for the YouTube viewers. Yeah, use our code LOCKED, LOCKED, if you want to sign up at Canes Connection. And if you use my code LOCKED, they're going to give you 20% off your first month at any membership tier. So 20%, it's a sweet deal. You do not want to forget about that. So we're expecting a couple of big name players. And okay, so I see some people in the live chat speculating on who might be next, right? Because in consecutive nights, Miami has landed a player each night. Demetrius Campbell 2 nights ago, Jaden Wilkerson last night, 4-star Miami Central safety Amari Wallace tonight. Who could be the next one in? I think he may have a date set coming up a little bit later on, but I feel good about Gavin Nix, the linebacker from IMG Academy. I feel like he's got a specific date. Let me see if I can pull that up here. I'm not sure. I feel like he's not scheduled to announce tomorrow. He might have a later date. Same thing with Chris Ewald. Like, I feel very good about Chris Ewald, the 4-star cornerback from Chaminade, but he's planning to announce on June 27th, which is a week from now. So if we're going to get good news on Ewald, it's not going to happen for another week. But yeah, there have been a handful of players now receiving crystal balls to land at Miami. Derry Norris, the 3-star defensive lineman, that may be one to watch out for in the coming nights. So it's exciting times, my friends. Miami going 3 for 3 on nights, landing verbal commitments. So yeah, guys, if you want to welcome Amari Wallace to the U, drop your comments below. Do you think Miami's going to end up trending to another top 10 recruiting class this year? Let us know in the comments below. It's very early. National Signing Day is not for almost 6 months. Right now, Miami does have the 31st ranked class in the country. Are they going to get into that top 10? And actually, I promised you guys I would take a look. I would take a look at that ranking. Hold on. Let me see. Class of 2025 recruiting rankings. I want to see if I can tell you who's in that top 10. Yeah. So right now, class of 2025, you got Ohio State at number 1, Notre Dame at number 2, Alabama 3rd, Georgia. How's Georgia only 4th? I guess Georgia's off to a slow start compared to last year. Clemson is 5th. Auburn 6th, LSU 7th, Oklahoma 8th, Texas A&M 9th, Penn State 10th, Rutgers 11th. Rutgers is recruiting really well early again, but they're recruiting well right now. Wisconsin at 12th, TCU 13th, Arizona State 14th, Syracuse 15th. Syracuse's new head coach, Fran Brown, that dude, that guy can recruit. Like I think he's got a little Mario Cristobal DNA. Like I think he probably only sleeps 3 hours a night. He's just recruiting all day long. Tennessee has the 16th rated class right now. USC, they've been bleeding commits left and right the last couple days, but they're still holding on at 17th. Georgia Tech at 18th, Texas 19th, Duke at 20th. Manny Diaz is hitting that trail hard. They got 20 commits though. So Duke has the 20th rated class with 20 commits. They've got, for example, they got twice as many commits as Miami has right now Minnesota 21st, Stanford 22nd, Oklahoma State. Even though they're crying about Miami's NIL, they got the 23rd class right now. Ole Miss 24th, Oregon 25th, West Virginia, Texas Tech, South Carolina, Wake Forest, Missouri, Miami at 31st. I would have thought, God, I gotta click over to another page to find Florida State. That's a little bit slow of a start for them. What are they? I got top 50 on my. I have to hit load more in order to find the Florida State Seminoles. Wow. And again, they're 68th. I know it's June. A Seminoles fan would talk trash and say, "Oh, Miami's got the 31st class. What losers!" I understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint. Florida State will not finish with the 68th ranked class in the country. They're going to rise, I'm sure, but they are 68th right now. Miami's 31st, so don't complain too much about where Miami stands at this moment. And again, I agree with our guy. We got a lot of our guys in here. Robert says, kick some booty. I appreciate you censoring yourself in there, Robert. Robbie Duke says, I'm not worried about recruiting. So there you go. All right, my friends, thank you so much for making this live episode your first or second listen today. Make sure you subscribe. Guys, we work really hard here on Locked On Canes. If you can subscribe to the audio version, helps us out a lot. We're available Apple Podcasts, Spotify. The good thing about the audio version is the portability factor, right? You could take us in your car, take us on a jog, listen through the Bluetooth speakers. The audio version is fantastic. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And the video version, of course, if you want to look at my handsome face, which I know is and it's free. You can look at this face for free. What a deal. The video version available on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that thumbs up button. We're going to have a couple Miami Hurricanes players joining us tomorrow, courtesy of Canes Connection. So we will talk to you then on another episode of Locked On Canes. Amari Wallace is a Cane. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.